Today we're going to go over 5 basic maintenance tips that I do to keep my chainsaws running in good condition. These are all pretty simple that you can do out in the field or at home when you get back. So the first thing we're going to do is go over the bar. I have the 261 and the 362 here. Both are Pro saws from Stihl, and they do really good for the wood that we need to cut. We don't have any massive trees like they have in California or the Pacific Northwest, so we don't need massive saws. 362 is more than enough power for what's around here, and the 261 is more than enough power too. I've never had a problem with this saw, and I've had it for 9 years now. So the first thing we'll do is take this bar off. You want to make sure that you have a pair of leather gloves, because this chain is sharp, and if you catch yourself on it, you could cut yourself. And that just ruins your day. So let's take this bar off here. It's tight. So we're going to clean this bar up, and Stihl makes these cool tools. This little pouch here, you can see this little pouch. It has your want to filing down the rakers, and it's got your chain file here. And this little tool here, this little tool right here, you can clean the bar out with this end, and on this end is what you file down with rakers, but we won't go over that stuff. This will be a whole different video. So cleaning out the bar, this gets a lot of gunk in here. Basically I just run this thing down here. You can see all the sawdust that comes out of there. You also want to make sure that the sprocket at the end is spinning freely. Sometimes wood gets jammed up in here and your chain won't spin. This one looks fairly clean. You want to clean out, there's a mounting hole here. Clean these two out. You can use compressed air too if you have compressed air. Here's the little oiler hole right here. This is the one that you want to make sure that's really clean. There's one on both sides because you're supposed to rotate your bar. So you see some saws, some chainsaws, and they, hey, that logo is upside down. Well, no, it's not. It's, you're rotating the bar to make sure you have good maintenance on your machine, and even wear on your chain, on your equipment. So I'm just gonna wipe this down here. This bar is pretty old. It's seen a lot of wood, but it's still in good condition here. So that's how I clean bar. Next thing you want to do is smooth out the edges. What happens here is that these edges, I can feel a little bit of edge here. That's just the chain wearing down. That's just the chain wearing down on the bar itself. So I got a lot here, not much in the middle. I got a lot on the ends too, so I'm going to recondition this bar just a little bit. I'm not going to go into detail, obviously. I'll make another video on that. Oregon makes this great little tool here for straightening the bar edges. You got your file inserted here, and a 90-degree angle, and a 90-degree angle here for sharpening. So this is a similar tool what they use for downhill skis, tuning edges on downhill skis and snowboards and stuff like that. So basically what you do here is line this up at top here and file that burr off of this bar. So you run it that way. Here, let's get the burr off of this top edge here. This is a lot easier to do in a vise. Out in the field, they make stump vices so that you can do this out in the woods if you need to. It's a lot easier to do it if you have a bench vise. So once you've run that edge, then you just flip it over this side and run this edge. You don't have to put a lot of pressure, just nice and easy on there. Take that burr off. So before you put the bar and chain back on, I want to clean up this power head. So I do this every single time that I sharpen the chain and rotate the bar. It's just good to see all the working parts and make sure everything is working properly in there. You could use compressed air in here too. So this screw right here is your tensioner, your chain tensioner screw, and always make sure that that's clear so it's easier to adjust the chain. And this little channel right here, you want to make sure that this is clean, because this is your oiler right here. This is your chain oiler. Everything looks pretty good in here. You also want to inspect the sprocket here and make sure it's not worn or any of these little gaps here are broken, worn out. I've replaced this twice since I've had the saw, just because it wears out. You also want to clean this back plate here too, the mounting plate. Clean all the sawdust out of here and inspect it too. Make sure your chain guides aren't too worn. Get the idea. You get the idea. Okay, we'll go ahead and put the chain back on, and I'll show you what I like for chain tension. So we're going to rotate the bar. The logo was up when I took it off and reconditioned it. And now we're going to flip it over so that the logo is facing down. So, chain. Make sure that you pay attention to the direction that your chain is running, because the saw, when it runs, it goes this way. Your cutting teeth are facing forward on the top and facing towards you on the bottom. I haven't made any adjustments to the chain itself, so it should go right on right there. Okay. This part's hard to do with gloves on. And before I tighten these down, I'm going to adjust the chain. The chain had a little bit of slack in it. Okay. Let me tighten it up just for demonstration purposes here. So you can see here there's a lot of slack in the chain. As you use the chainsaw more, you're going to get the chain's going to wear in. You're going to get some slack. This is too much slack, and the chain's going to fall off and you could hurt yourself. So I like to have it a little bit tighter, and to tighten the chain down you need to adjust the screw here, but these have to be loose. So I'm going to tighten up just a hair and pull it through. It's still too loose. Tighten her up. Just a hair. Still too loose. Just a hair. Okay, that's right about where I want it. So you want to have your chain tension to be able to pull this down off the bar fairly easily. If this chain is too tight, what you're going to do is you're going to wear out your chain, you're going to wear out your bar, and you're going to jam up your saw with sawdust. If it's too loose, it's going to fall off, and you're probably going to hurt yourself. So have it right there. I'll tighten these down. Sorry, it's hard to work on the back of the side-by-side here. Okay. See how that chain moves freely, but it's not sagging down. That's what you want. Right there. That's perfect. Okay, I'll go over sharpening real quick, but there's 8 million videos on sharpening a chainsaw out there. I'm not going to waste your time. In the field, I've used this one before. This steel is pretty nice. I'll show you. So it's got your angles here. You have a 30-degree, so you line that up with the bar, and that'll give you your proper angle on your chain. They have 10-degree here. That's for a ripping chain that you would cut a tree from bottom to top. So it's a whole different chain that you would use, but this is a 325 pitch chain, so, and it's a full chisel, so we're going to use it at 30 degrees. So what you want to do is find the painted spot on your chain, and that's where I usually start. so do one side at a time. So I push this in here, line up, and do it nice and slow. You make sure that you do the same amount of passes with your file on the left as you do on the right, and that way your wood is going to cut straight and your saw is going to run straight. This is nice because this little guide here, this metal guide on the file, doesn't allow you to go too deep. The one that I like to use the most is this Timberline sharpener, and this gets the saw, or gets the chain really sharp out in the field, and I can do a whole video just on this. It's a pretty cool tool. This is probably, besides a bench grinder, this is the best tool I've ever used. I've been cutting wood for almost 10 years now. So the last thing I wanted to go over was storing your saw for the winter, or if you haven't run it for a couple months. What I do with my saws is I'll just run it empty. So if I know that I'm not going to be cutting wood for a while, I'll just run the saw until it quits running, until it's out of gas. Or if you got a little bit left, like I do here, I did some cutting yesterday, and you're going to store it, instead of dumping that fuel out and then running the saw till it dies, put a little bit of stable in there, and that'll make sure that your carb is lubricated and there's not going to be any varnish that's going to coagulate up into your carb, and to make sure that your saw is running good for next time. So these are some of the basics that I do on a weekly basis, on a daily basis when I'm cutting wood. Make sure that my saw is running good and that I'm going to be safe and the saw is sharp and cutting straight. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you subscribe and leave some comments down below if you have any questions. And happy wood cutting. Stay safe. Talk to you later.